Welcome back to my messy garage. Today I wrap up these rear brackets, and I'll tell you what, for something that's not a huge job, it certainly was not simple. Okay, here are the two brackets that came on the car, and then the brackets that came in the kit. The ones that came with the car, they're serviceable. They need to be cleaned up. The only thing that gives me pause, well, besides just the work and the time it'd take to get these cleaned up, I'd want to get all this growtiness off of them and clean up the landing surfaces, of course, and straighten out some of this metal. But these were also brazed in. I'm pretty sure that's brass brazing right there. If you've ever tried to weld and you hit some of that, it doesn't work very nicely. So because I got the kit, I've got the new ones. They look like they're going to work out just fine. So I'll just go with the new ones. Look, they even put in little weld holes for me already, so I don't even have to do that. So kind of looking at where they go, I've got my manual here. Unfortunately, I don't have measurements. They give you a nice picture of where it goes kind of in relation to other things, but I don't know exactly where that translates up and down. It'll be easy enough to get from the center line and the distance on the actual seat, but it looks like from the picture it goes something like this. So what I'm going to do is, I think what I'm going to do is take out these side panels, get the fold down rear seat, and I might even just put the rear seat in, put in the fold down seat, and I might bolt these brackets to it and see where they hit. Because if they line up already on the seat, then obviously they're going to work out there. So that's the plan. Let's get to it. Okay, I was frankly struggling with that fold down seat and positioning it. It is large and heavy and kind of unwieldy in this confined space. And there's not kind of a good way to place it. But luckily for me, I never throw anything away. So I've got the original transition pan pieces that I cut apart. Now, it's kind of beyond me why I didn't think to measure this and make a mark of where these brackets sat. But I do have where the panel ends, and I also have where the seatbelt mounting hole was. So there's the seatbelt mounting hole where it originally was. There's where I put the new one. And I also have the edge here of the panel and the edge of the panel. So that's going to get me kind of close. Now I'm just going to kind of put this on top here and hope it doesn't slide down. You can see the brazing there on the original thing and kind of where I cut it out and where it sits right on there. Sorry for the shadows. And where I cut it out kind of below the bracket to preserve the bracket. So this is going to get me pretty close. I've also found some references online, not great measurements. I also found the scrap that I cut off on the other side. Not as much metal on this side, but once again, there's the seatbelt mount hole and then where I cut the bracket out. So it's not a lot to go on. Okay, I think my approach to this wasn't the best. I was using the fold down seat, kind of the seat back and seat bottom, to place these brackets. And really, I should have been using the back of the seat here. So I found in the body assembly manual, you'd think it'd be in the interior one, but here we are. Here are the brackets that I am trying to locate. And yes, this is the fold down part does attach to them, but also what attaches to that bracket is this panel, which is this panel, which is this panel. So I think what I'm going to do, I have the brackets in the rear, which locate this front to back. I think what I'm going to do is attach these brackets to the fold down part and then see where these made up. And then that is where the bracket should go. But the real challenge is, will I be able to mark where these are when that's all together? Let's give it a shot, see what happens. Okay, here's what I did. I have the fold down seat, and this is kind of oriented the same way as the car. I went ahead and I have an interior kit with all the right bolts somewhere, but it's the same thread. I grabbed a fender bolt just because it was handy and attached the new bracket just using one bolt. I'm afraid with the length of this bolt, it might interfere if I use both, and it doesn't need to be exact. So I got it basically centered up in these holes, maybe off a little bit. And here's what I was talking about before, where that back panel goes. I'm gonna grab, it's a 1024 thread. So I'm gonna grab just a long enough screw, thread it in here so I have essentially a stud sticking up. Put this roughly in place, and then with the back panel, position it where it goes onto the brackets, and then try to get the front part of the back panel onto the studs that I'm pushing through. I'm sure that all makes no sense without seeing it, so ooh, I've even got some little pieces of all thread here I might use. These are going to be perfect. So I'll just go ahead and thread these in here on both sides. Man, that is a loose thread. Am I sure that's 1024? That doesn't seem right to me. That might not be right. Okay, well, discussion aside, I'll take this off camera and keep working it. I'll find the right screws eventually. Okay, I'm struggling. Holding this where it needs to be with these brackets up against where they need to is difficult. I need, I think, 2 more people, one on either side to hold it and a third to drop the thing, the third panel in place, that back panel. So, okay, hopefully, if you're watching this, you're gonna learn something from this if you need to do this in the future. I realize I'm going about this kind of not the best way. Shouldn't surprise anyone. So I've got this rear panel here, right? And I've got the stud here that mounts to that back bracket and the hole here for where it goes. Why aren't I just measuring from here to here? And then that gives me the distance from that hole to this hole. That should be all I need, right? As soon as I know what that distance is, then I know this distance, it's on this bracket. Additionally, if you look at how long these holes are compared to the bolt width, there's a good inch of travel there. A good inch of travel there on that. I don't need to get this exact. And as someone pointed out, there are shims that go in these things to level them out. I'm overthinking this, and as usual, I am making my own life harder. So let me try to just get a measurement and see if I can drop things in place and roughly position them where I think they need to be. Okay, I am not going to go into super details about exactly what the measurements were. I measured it off of my wheel wells, my rear seat, my brackets. If you're doing this, you're going to want to probably get, sorry, I just hit my light. You're going to probably want to get your own measurements. But what I did do is I made sure I centered up in the middle of the car. And I should actually check that with my laser level and the marks I made before. So I'll do that and just make sure I'm centered. Again, I've got like an inch of wiggle room here, so I'm not that worried about it. But I went ahead and put a screw. I remember I had the measurement from this hole to the rearmost screw. I went ahead and put a bolt just in that hole and lined that up with where I thought it needed to go. And I'll double check this. Let me double check this right now. Okay, I have double checked that. So from here, kind of thinking of the vertical, going straight back to that hole, it is that 8 inches. So I went ahead and put this in, made sure that where I was pointing was where I thought it was, and went and marked the outline of where this bracket goes. And that's that shape there. Fantastic. So I've got that on both sides, and that should give me a nice squared up bracket where it needs to go. And I did measure side to side and make sure that what I have marked is the same width as the seat that's going in there, or that back panel. That is going to be it for just this moment. I'll see if I can get back at this tomorrow in this same video and get these at least tacked in place. What I'll probably do is just tack the top and bottom, something easy to get out again, and fit everything up just to make sure, you know, I don't have a mismeasurement somewhere and that everything is where it's going to work. And that is my clock telling me it is 6 o'clock. Okay, let me see if I can show you this. I went ahead and put just a couple of tacks on the L bracket and then test fit up with an amazing shadow. Test fit up this the rear fold down seat just with the one bolt just to hold it so it doesn't slip off. On the driver's side here, I just put the box that the brackets came in. It was kind of the nice height to just hold it up so it wouldn't put too much torque on that. So this is roughly where it's going to sit. You might be able to tell it's going to go up a little bit more than that, but really just to test the distance down there. Now, I measured 7 inches before. I'm going to try to stay out of the shadow, but the light's right behind me. So when this was in place, I measured 7 inches from this hole to the center of this hole. Let me see if I can show you this. We're roughly centered up on that hole and almost exactly at 7 inches. Looks like it's about 1/8 beyond it. And if I push that kind of up and into place a little bit and hold it with one knee, we're almost exactly at 7 inches. Plus we have all the wiggle room there. So just a convoluted test fit. I think that bracket is good. I'm gonna weld up the rest of that bracket, and then what I will do is measure that one and kind of do a similar thing. Make sure they're level and tack that one in place, and then test fit everything up one last time before I finish welding. Okay, with both brackets tacked in, I decided to tack the second bracket before I fully welded, just in case I needed to move anything. It's in. Well, not fully welded in, but it's tacked in. And I tested it up with the back bracket, which it wound up being a little bit of a challenge because I'm trying to do this with just the tacks. I don't want to crank down on it, but I needed to go ahead and secure the bolts enough. Let me see if I can show you what this actually looks like. So when it comes down, I'm letting it rest on this just so I keep a little bit of weight off of the brackets themselves. And this comes down to form. It seems like it feels like it's tilted forward a little bit. I honestly can't remember how it was, but we're rested perfectly or all the way flat on the back brackets. So it's not going to sit down any further. And the fact that it's all in one plane is encouraging. Like I said before, the gaps, or maybe I didn't say, but the height here can be adjusted up a little bit. And remember, I've only got the one bolt in there, so there is still a little bit of play. But all in all, I am pretty happy. I'm going to go ahead and take this all out and finish welding up those brackets, and then we're going to call it good. Well, okay. I I placed my panels, just placed in here. I didn't actually screw them in or anything, just to see kind of how everything went together. Everything's in place. I mean, guys, look at this. It looks like the interior again. There's still some wiggle room, which is to be expected, and once everything's bolted down, I'll be able to space it out if I need to. But let me see if I can. Nothing like a live demonstration, right? Get this fold back seat, or fold down seat. Look at that. Someone could sit here if they needed to. And there goes my clock telling me it's, I don't know what time it is. Time to admire my interior. Okay, everything is in, welded in place where it belongs. I'll be honest, I was a little bit, I had a moment of panic when I looked at where this bracket was and where the panel went, and I was worried that even though I measured about 500 times, that bracket was going to interfere with the panel, but it didn't. Everything slid in right where it needed to and fit up. So I am super excited. Okay, if you are still with me, thank you so much for watching. That's a wrap for these rear brackets. And honestly, the next step, I do need to get this car in a state where I can move it around again. So the next step is probably going to be reassembling the rear axle, getting it back on all four wheels so we can move it around and get behind the car.